Hey guys, my name is Courtney Stover, and I'm a senior in high school. I'm here to talk about God's plan in my life and kind of my plan versus His plan kind of thing. So when I was 11 years old, I was diagnosed with petit mal seizures, and it's a form of epilepsy, which is when you space out in your brain. I picture it as like, this is like your brain working, and it just kind of like shuts off and like disconnects for a few seconds. Shortly after I was diagnosed with having petit mal seizures, I started going to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, aka CHOP. And so I started having EEG tests done, which would monitor my brain waves and show like how often I was having the seizures and for how long they were lasting. It would be a 45-minute test, and that's every few months for like the past 6 years. I've been doing the same thing. So having epilepsy didn't really prevent me from doing anything. Like, I could have done sports, or I can hang out with friends, I can go swimming, like I can do basically what anyone else can do. I'm like a normal person. It didn't really prevent me from doing anything except one super major thing, which is driving. When I was younger, that wasn't a really big problem because I couldn't drive anyway. When I was in 10th grade, I took driver's ed. I was still having epilepsy. I failed the test because I knew I wouldn't be able to drive even if I passed the test. All my friends started to drive and I couldn't drive. And that was like one of the major things that started to affect me, because the type of epilepsy that I have, normally you would get when you were a kid and you would outgrow when you were like 11, 12, or 13. But I was diagnosed at that age that most kids would outgrow it. So it was kind of odd that I still had it, or that I was even diagnosed at that age. Like, nothing was changing. I started to get the feeling that I wasn't really gonna ever outgrow it. I just kind of started to face the fact that I'm never gonna drive. All my friends are driving, and the tests were just kind of showing, like, they're not really getting better. They were always just kind of the same. Okay, like, yep, we're still seeing seizures, just keep taking your meds. I lost hope for driving. But I didn't start doubting God. I was always praying to God about it, like asking Him to heal me. I didn't really ask Him why I had epilepsy. Like, it didn't really make sense to me because it didn't affect me a lot. It wasn't like, oh, this huge tragedy or anything. But at the same time, I didn't understand. But I just kind of assumed. I was like, okay, like, this is part of His plan. At the end of my junior year, my neurologist at CHOP had retired. Her retiring was kind of a big thing, and it was like, well, who do we move to, you know? We were presented with 3 options. We could keep going to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and meet with a new neurologist. We could go to their office in Princeton and meet with a new neurologist, or we could go to their office in Voorhees and meet with a new neurologist. We decided to go with Princeton because it was a shorter drive and it was a nice new office, so we were like, alright, like, why not? In October of 2014, the beginning of my senior year, we met Dr. Chowda, which is my new neurologist now, and she was awesome. She, like, knew everything about everything, like, anything about everything. Ask her a question, like, not even related to the brain, she probably knows it. And she ordered for me to have an MRI done, an EEG done, and a 24-hour EEG instead of just a 45-minute one. So we were like, okay, well, like, I never did that, but sure, why not? And she was like, you never had a 24-hour or an MRI done? You've had this for 6 years. And I'm like, yeah, I never did that. She's like, I can't believe you've never had that done. Like, everyone, that's like a normal thing to do. And we're like, I don't know. She's like, and you're almost 18. I was like, I know. But so she was like kind of blown away that no other doctor had ever done that before. But she was like, I want you to start driving. Like, I want answers. Wednesday, March 11th, 2015. I met with her again. My 24-hour EEG test results came back that we had taken in February. It was me, my mom, and Dr. Chowda. And she looked at me and she said, well, I looked at your test results and I'm gonna clear you to drive. And she just kept talking and talking about what she saw in the test and everything. And like, I don't know if you, like in movies, everything, like, if something happens tragically or something, like, the character kind of focuses in and everything kind of goes blurry. But, like, that's exactly what happened. Like, I just kept repeating that. And, like, she kind of got blurry and was, like, talking to my mom. I didn't hear anything else she said except that. Because for 6 years, I believed that I wasn't going to drive ever. And she just told me that I was going to drive. So, I don't think it's just a coincidence or an accident. This is definitely God's plan. I don't know why or what else He has in store for me. But for my old neurologist to tell me that she's retiring after me seeing her since I was 11, and then getting presented the 3 options to go to whatever office and meet a new doctor, and my mom and I were like, yeah, let's go to the Princeton one, why not? And then for us to just meet Dr. Chadahambe and her run the test that she decided to run and somehow get cleared, because all the other tests weren't showing up clear, but this one did. And for her to clear me to drive a month and a day before my birthday, my 18th birthday. I don't know why, but I definitely think it's God's plan. One scripture that I found I was really able to relate with, and also just kind of keeps me going through life, and I think is really inspiring and everything, is Jeremiah 29:11, and this is what it says. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Again, I lost hope that I was going to drive, but I never really lost hope in God, and I think I was pretty fortunate to be able to have that strong relationship with God, and everyone else around me always supporting me and never really judging me because of my epilepsy and everything else that I do. But I just think it's really important to just know that God's plan might be different than your plan, but try to be okay with that and just kind of go along for the ride and have some faith and trust in Him. So, thanks.